Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of my Skylanders Giants only Nuzlocke. So, the rules for this run are as follows. I can have one Skylander of each element. Of course, in this case, if I'm doing all Giants, there's one Giant of each element, so that works out pretty well. If it dies, it's dead. It is gone for the rest of the run. If there's a new elemental zone, whenever it switches, I have to switch the respective element of each zone if I have one of those Skylanders with that respective element available. All characters get reset at the beginning of the run, which is the most sad and painful part, especially resetting Eyebrow here, because that hurts. He's my favorite Giant, and I spent a while leveling him up and stuff, so bummer, but they all start at level 1. I get one reset per chapter, because I suck at this game, and I want to have fun still. So if I get partway through a level and I'm like, damn, I screwed up, I died to something really stupid and lame or whatever, I can reset that level back to where I was at the beginning. Anyone who was dead prior to that level, though, stays dead. I can't bring people back to life who have died in previous levels. Also, I'm allowed to do heroic challenges up to a reasonable point. I can't sit there and just keep grinding them endlessly and leveling these guys up, because you could totally do that. You could sit and pick an easy heroic challenge and just grind them up to level 20, but I'm not going to do that because that's stupid. But I can still play them because I think they're kind of fun to increase the stats and whatever. And I don't have a super strong desire to jump in there and grind a bunch of heroic challenges, because that's kind of boring. So besides that, that's about it for the rules. So I recorded this is all pre-recorded, so I'm adding this commentary in after the fact, which I think is just easier for me in my setup. But anyways, I'm here in the very first level, and as with most Skylander games, the first couple levels are pretty easy, so Time of the Giants is no exception. Walking through with Eyebrow here. I started with him just because he's my favorite, and I don't believe there are any elemental zones in here, or elemental zones in here, which kind of sucks, because I'm stuck with Eyebrow here, and it's not too hard, First enemy here, we got Archean Jousters, besides the Bone Chompies, but they're not super difficult. Luckily, actually, there is one elemental zone in here, which is nice. I'm able to use this elemental zone just because I started with Eyebrow, and I was kind of lucky. So I go in, I pick up the fast food cap or whatever, paper fast food hat. Which is kind of nice. This is a new save file, so I don't have any of the hats on here and everything, so, if I find a good hat or whatever, it might help me in the rest of the run. So then I move on to the next combat encounter. It's just a couple more Archean Jousters. Pretty easy. With Eyebrow, it's just, especially at level 1, you just kind of spam his fist attacks. So clear that pretty easy, and Eyebrow levels up to level 2. Off to a good start. We got around 300 gold. Was stuck at as Eyebrow the entire level, which isn't great just because I didn't get to add some gold to any of the other characters. But we move on to level 2, and we're faced with our first Root Runner. And Root Runners are really easy because they just kind of sit there, they don't attack you, and they spawn the easiest enemies to kill in the game. But still, I decide to hang back because I can, and I can just kind of snipe them with the eyeball move, which normally isn't really a viable strategy for a lot of encounters in this game as far as I'm concerned, but that's what I'm going with here because I can. And also under these boulders, it's always nice to pick up those boulders because there usually are, well, not usually, but sometimes there's a piece of treasure or whatever under there. And also, just because they're, upgrades are important, they're all at level 1, they're all reset, it's pretty important that I go and try and grab as many pieces of gold, treasure, currency, whatever, as I can. And then this little cave I get to use because the elemental zone... Oh, wait, no, that's later. Forget I said anything. This, behind this wall, what is this? This ended up being just a treasure chest or something like that. Yeah, which is great because a little bit of extra money goes a long way because we need upgrades, and the sooner we get them, the better. And it's tough because as you go through and switch through elemental zones, see, we're stuck with Eyebrow again in an undead zone as our first proper elemental zone. You kind of like switch back and forth between people, which means you can't just like grind up a single character and get a bunch of gold for them. So they all kind of end up with minimal amounts, which means getting gold is pretty important for those upgrades. And also buying other stuff from Auric, like, you know, hats or any other upgrades I might have. Upgrades, items. So I do this little feat challenge, feat of strength, whatever they're called, and pick up some extra gold here. And at this point, Eyebrow is pretty rich. But I'm looking at his upgrades, and the only thing that really I want to get is that punch attacks do increase damage, and I kind of want that sooner rather than later. So I decided to hold off until I'm at 900 because I really want to get that upgrade. As more than the other two. The other two aren't really good. And then I'm up against this stupid tree branch guy, and we get an elemental zone switch into, unfortunately, Crusher, who I think a lot of people agree that Crusher isn't very good at anything. He's very slow, pretty tough to use, and you can see he's like fully upgraded here, level 12. He's got his cool hammer. I have to go to manage and hit reset and reset all of that progress, which hurts every time.
It's crush hour.
And so I'm a little nervous with him, especially, you know, starting off with no upgrades. But looks like I hit him enough with Eyebrow before I decided or remembered to change that he goes down pretty easy. With Crusher, I kind of just like start swinging early. He gets a little bit of knockback on the enemies, which is all right. The eye freeze Medusa thing isn't super great, but he does a fair amount of damage with his hammer. Honestly, he takes things down pretty easy. 37 damage per hit is pretty good. He's just not very mobile. He's one of the slowest, if not the slowest giant, and essentially that means he's like the slowest Skylander in Giants, because the Giants are all super slow. But those guys go down pretty easy, and I go in to check if I'm actually on Nightmare mode, because I was like, wow, I thought he was a lot worse. But yeah, maybe he's not as bad as I thought, because 37 per hit is pretty good. He's just not super mobile. So I go and pick up this legendary treasure because, you know, why not, I guess. And we get to another encounter, and we're still as Crusher, which sucks because this is our first encounter with a Drow Archer. And the Drow Archers are really quite annoying because those fire arrows come down pretty fast and do a fair amount of damage, but we get that level up, which helps a lot because it knocked out that Drow Archer. Now, the bad thing about freezing enemies to stone is that they go away, like they unfreeze as soon as you hit them, so it's not super useful unless there's like a group of enemies and you all freeze them, and I guess they can choose which one to start with, but even then it's not great. You can say I can freeze both of those guys, but as soon as I hit him, he unfreezes, which makes that move not great. Maybe it'll get better with upgrades. We'll see. So then we make it to the first grass zone, and we get to put on my boy Gnarls Barkley over here. And of course go to reset him, because that's what I gotta do with all of them. But this time, this I got as like a used Skylander from somebody I bought from online, and the chip just kind of sucks. And the reset wasn't really working, so I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on? So I put on a different Tree Rex, and I kind of forgot what I named him in the past. So ignore that, that's not important. And I am just trying to like reset this guy, and it's just not working. So I finally am able to reset him though, just after a bit of trial and error, which is fortunate because I wanted to use the gnarly version of him because he looks cooler in my opinion. And I didn't want to reset my other T-Rex because the other T-Rex has like a ton of upgrades on him. And he's pretty high level from what I recall. Also his name is Wild. So T-Rex is pretty mobile with the charge attack, and he even does damage with it, which is pretty nice. Not quite as mobile as like Swarm or something, but the run move is cool, and he does a fair amount of damage, not as much as Crusher, but he attacks about the same speed as him, and it's only a little bit less damage. And he's more mobile, so he's kind of like Crusher if Crusher was good. These Drow Archers are a pain in the ass, and I go down to 172 here. No, sorry, 112 now, which is nuts. So that watermelon drop was actually really quite lucky. So I'm bouncing around in these. See, that's a ton of money. So T-Rex goes up to 200, which is really good. And I'm knocking these guys off this cliff because I don't want to deal with them. And I'm like, screw you, dude. Come on. So I do this little feat of strength. I think there's like a treasure chest back here. And pick up some extra money for T-Rex. The more money, the better. I'm going back, trying to kill these Drow Archers. Knock out one of them, but I'm like, I am so low health. I do not need to kill that other guy. Let's just get done with this, please. So I talk to Orc. He's selling crappy hats that do nothing for me. And we get to our first Texan. And I throw in Legendary Bouncer because I have the Legendary one. Bouncer's goated. He's awesome. Legendaries are awesome. And I, unfortunately, of course, have to reset him. It hurts. It pains me every time I have to do that. But now he's back to level 1. He's got no upgrades. And we get to go into the first combat situation with Bouncer right off the bat. And we're up against these really annoying stupid tree guys. They are a pain in the ass to deal with. They're pretty bulky and they do a whole lot of damage. But fortunately, Bouncer is pretty mobile, and he can kind of do that rocket thing where he can do damage passively. Those Drow Archers back there are being a pain as well. Bouncer has pretty good damage output, especially for being a ranged Skylander. He's one of the few giants that have like a solid ranged attack. I think Bouncer has a good ranged attack. Swarm has good ranged attack. Hothead's kind of mid-range. I don't really count him as a ranged one. And then T-Rex will eventually get a ranged attack, but that's kind of later down the upgrade path. So really, it's just Bouncer and Swarm that have like solid range attacks, like reliable ones that you get right off the bat. I go down to 111 here because, again, as I said, if you haven't figured it out, I'm terrible at this children's game. So this is where it gets a little dicey. I'm like, wow, I really hope I don't lose Bouncer right at level 3 because that would suck. Speaking of levels, he goes up to level 2, which means we go back to full health, which is great. And then the elemental zone changes right before this gate, so I'm able to switch to Crusher, which is nice. Want to do all the elemental gates I am able to do, generally speaking, because they might have extra loot, like gold, treasure, whatever, or hats are also great to have. So I spent a while in this zone just, doing the puzzle and whenever I pick up the police siren hat, which is kind of cool because it gets +4 speed, which is great to have on giants because they're super, super slow, generally speaking. So I move past that and go to the next one, which is a fire gate, which changes the zone right before the gate, which means I'm allowed to do it and change to Hothead. This is the first time Hothead's on here, so of course we have to reset my boy. He's level 9, he's got about 4,000 gold. We're gonna set him back to level 1. So the unfortunate thing I don't know, unfortunate, maybe fortunate since I'm doing a Nuzlocke, but the boring thing in Giants and SSA and stuff is that these elemental zones are just like nothing sometimes. Like, I just walked in and got the thing, which is just wild. But anyways, this hat is really funny. I love that hat. It gives you +5 crit rate, which is great. I was able to pick up the soul gem for Hothead too, which could come in handy if we ever get enough money to actually ever buy that upgrade. But that will be a ways down. So that won't really come in handy for a while. But I do get to pick up the lucky wheel of health, which is kind of nice. Eventually, again, that'll come in handy. And that closes out the level Junkyard Isles and also closes out part 1 of this Nuzlocke, because the next level, Rumble Town, is a little bit longer and some more wild stuff happens in that one. So please, guys, like and subscribe if you want to see part 2. I'm going to put that up as soon as I can. And we'll see you next time in the Giants Only Nuzlocke. Peace.